Hello, my name's Deacon. My son Alfie Dingley is the first person in the UK to receive a permanent medical cannabis licence. That was on the 19th of June 2018. And when the law changed on the 1st of November, he went on to receive the first legal NHS prescription in the UK for medical cannabis products, which he had been prescribed once we returned back from Holland. I wanted to talk to you today about Alfie's story and also where I see the position in the UK for medical cannabis and things I'd like to see improve in the future. So a little brief story about Alfie. Alfie, at 8 months old, had his first seizure. That was May 2012. It was just an isolated tonic-clonic seizure at the time. We took him straight to A&E. We were told it was possibly a febrile seizure, and that we should watch and wait, and unfortunately it was very obvious at that point that he was very gravely ill. He went on to have tonic-clonic seizures lasting up to 5 minutes every half an hour. To cut a very long, horrid, harrowing story short, we were in hospital for 3 months. Alfie ended up on a life support machine for nearly a month, and he was seizing for the whole time. We tried a huge amount of anti-epileptic drugs. None of them worked for him. The only thing that worked in the end when we ended up in our third hospital, which was Great Ormond Street Hospital, was intravenous methylprednisolone, which is a steroid. That was because he had a test which showed that he was having a huge immune response. He was diagnosed with immune responsive epilepsy at that point. We were told that hopefully it was just an isolated response his body had to a virus or a bacteria, and hopefully it wouldn't happen again. Unfortunately, it did happen again. It happened every 8 months until he was 4, where he would be in hospital for up to 2 or 3 weeks, seizing. We had to use a lot of steroids to stop it. And then, unfortunately, at age 4, it started to happen every 3 weeks, and at age 5, it started to happen every 4 to 7 days. He was getting much worse. He was diagnosed at age 5 with a condition called PCDH19. That is an epilepsy which usually only affects girls. It's on the X chromosome. There are 9 boys in the world with what's called mosaicism, so it's on their X chromosome, but only on some of their genes, so the Y chromosome doesn't take over, so they have symptomatic epilepsy and learning delay and things like that, and it can be a lot worse in boys when it happens. So how did we find cannabis? Well, we were giving Alfie up to 25 doses of intravenous steroids a month. We were told that it was likely that the steroids would kill him eventually. They would give him organ failure or he would become psychotic. We were already seeing severe behaviour problems with him, very bad aggression, violence. He would attack me, he would attack my parent, my mum, my partner. My daughter was only 2 or 3 at the time when he was very, very ill. We couldn't leave him alone with her in the room. It was an extremely horrendous situation that we were living in, and I was taking him to hospital, or his dad was taking him to hospital in an ambulance every week with severe clustering of seizures which required treatment with steroids. There was no way about it. We actually did try lots of different things. We tried the ketogenic diet, we tried immunoglobulins, we tried everything to stop his seizures without using steroids, but it wasn't possible. So in October 2016, I started to do research. What could we use that wasn't steroids, that did the same things as steroids, which basically suppressed his immune system or balanced his immune system? And medical cannabis kept coming up. It kept showing itself to me, I suppose, and I kept talking to families, and they were saying, you know, this medicine can really help seizures. It can stop them, or it can halve them, or it can make people's lives much better. It wasn't just about seizure suppression either, though. It was about lifestyle. It was about cognitive development. It was the fact that when they did have seizures, they got over them a lot quicker. So again, anecdotal, but when you speak to lots and lots of people and they say the same things, which is why Facebook and Twitter and things like that are a wonderful resource, because it brings a lot of people together who say the same things. It's really, really helpful. And I did go onto things like PubMed and look, and there was research showing that CBD especially was helpful with seizures. So I wanted to try it. I went to my doctor, who was wonderful, and I said to him, what about taking Alfie to Holland for treatment of cannabis? And he said, his words were to me, you have no choice. He was a wonderful man. He always put Alfie first. Our local GP was very supportive, our MP was very supportive, our paediatrician was very supportive. We were very, very lucky. I also spoke to other mothers who had done or were doing the same thing with their children, taking them abroad for treatment, and I knew that that meant that I could do it. So that's what we did. We raised money over 2017. We set up a Facebook page called Alfie's Hope. Please follow us if you can. We're on Twitter and Facebook, and we raised money, and we went. I was a full-time carer, so we didn't have any money, so we went in September 2017, and after 5 weeks Alfie went 17 days just on full extract CBD without having a cluster, which was amazing. I remember Drew and I saying if he went for a month without having a cluster, we'd be happy. Little did we know how wonderful this stuff can be when it works. We used a CBD oil called Bedrolite, which was prescribed by a paediatric neurologist in The Hague. So we did that for 3 months, and he just was getting better and better. And then we added in a very small dose of THC called Bedica in the December 2017, and he went 41 days without a cluster, which was amazing. And as the months went by, it was petering out. Unfortunately, in February 2018, we had to come home. We'd spent pretty much all our money on living there and the medication that Alfie was taking. And we had to come home and we had to fight our battle at home. We felt that living in Holland, we couldn't fight our battle at home. We couldn't fight our battle from Holland. We had to fight it from home. So we took Alfie off the THC component of the medication and brought him home, and he became unwell at first because I think it shocked his body, but then we managed to regulate him more on full extract CBD. He was still having seizures, but they weren't as bad as they had been before he went away. That's when we linked up with a campaign group called End Our Pain, run by a man called Peter Carroll. He came to see me at my mum's house, I'll never forget it, and he said campaigning is something that is full of highs and lows, and it very much was a very, very, very hard situation for us to go through, but what we wanted to do is get Alfie a licence to use medical cannabis in the UK, so his doctor could prescribe medical cannabis in the UK. Unfortunately, initially we were met with the normal line that cannabis has no medicinal value, but I didn't accept that, and we went onto the media, and I did lots of media interviews, and there was real public support, which was amazing, and we're so grateful to all the people that supported us through that first few months of campaigning, because we got so much amazing support. We'd proved that our son needed this medicine, and it was the right thing to do, that his doctors could prescribe it. Unfortunately, our neurologist, who was very supportive, was being blocked from helping us, which was really, really sad. So in the end, after I met the Prime Minister in March 2018, and she said that we could apply for a licence for Alfie with our doctors under a compassionate basis, which has never happened before in the UK. It's always been pharmaceutical companies who've applied for licences for cannabis. So that was an amazing breakthrough, that we got the agreement from her that we could apply for the licence. We had to find a doctor that would help us. And we did. We found a wonderful doctor called Professor Mike Barnes. He has been involved in cannabis campaigning and asked, the right for doctors to prescribe cannabis for the last 3 years. He's an amazing person. He's helped my son to stay alive, and I'm forever grateful to him. And we also had on the team our local paediatrician, our GP, and some other neurologists that provided governance. And all of those people together applied for a licence to the Home Office. We agreed not to sort of carry on our campaign while that was happening. I've always respected the situation for the Home Office. It was very difficult for them. This has never been done before in the UK. They had to look at the legislation, they had to look at the law. There was a lot of work to do. There was actually a 38-page governance document for the licence, which I think if we look back at this in 10 years' time, we'll realise just how crazy that is. But, we did it because it was the right thing to do for our little boy. So we went through all that. It was very difficult. We got to a sticking point in June, unfortunately, where we had done everything. Our MP actually met with the Home Office with us, and we had done everything they wanted us to do. I just think they were a little bit cautious still, unfortunately. And that was when I went on to the Today programme on the 19th of June. which was the day after actually Sir Mike Penning, who is a great supporter of the End Our Pain campaign as well, actually said he was going to take me to Holland to get Alfie's medicine, and I don't think the government wanted us to do that. So on the 19th of June, I went on to the Today programme and just talked about my meeting with Theresa May and what she said to me, which was that she said that we could do this. And I didn't want a yes, absolutely. I just wanted an answer. It should have been yes, of course, but I wasn't even pressurising them into saying that. I wanted them just to give us an answer, because if it had been no, we would have obviously carried on campaigning and made it happen. But it was the fact that there was nothing. It was just we were being dragged on and on and on for months and months. And this is my little boy's life, and I had enough. I was a very patient person, and I just had enough. So yeah, on the 19th of June, I did that, and within 3 hours, that's when the first medical cannabis licence was issued. The permanent medical cannabis licence was issued in the UK. And that was also the day that the Home Secretary stood up in the House of Commons, announced Alfie's licence, but also said that there would be a review into medical cannabis in the UK, so we're very proud of that, and being part of helping to make that happen is really special to us. And actually my little boy has his medicine that he needs. The problem is on the 1st of November, well, not the problem, it was wonderful, the law was changed on the 1st of November, but the problem is that law is not being enacted. The Home Secretary showed good leadership in the sense that he changed the law very quickly. So medical cannabis products can be prescribed on the NHS by a specialist doctor who's on the specialist register. But the problem is that we see these awful guidelines, unfortunately, from the BPNA, which is the British Paediatric Neurology Association, which is what affects children with epilepsy. And they issue guidelines that are very, very restrictive. And I work now with End Our Pain as an ambassador, and I deal with families every single day, a core set of families of about 16. And the feedback I get from all these people is that doctors are frightened, or they're being told that trusts will not allow them to prescribe, or the guidelines are there so they can't do it. Well, actually, the guidelines are just that, they're guidance. Doctors can make informed decisions about what they prescribe for children. They should not be being told that they can't do that. Unfortunately, as well, it's hypocrisy at its best, because my son has been prescribed intravenous steroids on a weekly basis for years. They are not clinically trialled in children. They are not licensed for children. So why is it okay to give an unregulated, unlicensed drug to children, especially with epilepsy, on an anecdotal basis, basically? That's okay. Is it because they're pharmaceutical drugs, or I don't know, but it's wrong. If there's a problem with giving unregulated, unlicensed drugs to children, then it should be for all of them, not just for cannabis. There's actually a lot of research throughout the world that shows that cannabis is safe for epilepsy, especially CBD. There are a lot of doctors in Canada, for example, and Israel, who've been prescribing medicines like this to children with epilepsy for years and are showing great results. The problem is there's a lot of observational data, but there's not a lot of RCTs, randomised controlled trials. And I think the NHS and doctors need to sort of open their minds to observational trials, that they are valid when you're looking at a cannabis plant which has nearly 400 entities in it. You can't randomise controlled trials 400 entities. Well, if you did, you would be here for 30 years before we'd even made any medicines. And we don't need to make medicines. The plant is okay as it is. It works in a synergy. It works in the endocannabinoid system really, really well. You do not need to sort of play with it. That's what I feel, and that's what my son has responded to really well, is full extract cannabis oil. So I hope in the future that things get better. The Medical Cannabis Clinician Society has been created by Professor Mike Barnes, which I am supporting him with, and that will hopefully encourage doctors to join and to learn and to understand about cannabis and how it works and how you prescribe it and what you prescribe it for. And I do think things will move. It will move, but it's not quick enough. And there's lots of children, especially with epilepsy. I know there's lots of conditions that cannabis can help. My passion is children with epilepsy, because that's what I know. I don't know pain. I don't know bowel problems. I don't know those things. I know children with epilepsy, so I think it's, you know, important for everyone to have access, but for children with epilepsy especially, and their families who are really suffering, who don't get a lot of support, we need to help those people desperately, and that's what I'm doing as quickly as I can to try and support those people in getting access to cannabis medications as quickly as possible for their children with epilepsy. So it needs to be better. We need to do more, and I will keep working as hard as I can to make it better for people. And I'm grateful every day for my child's medication. He's gone from saying 2 or 3 words a sentence to being a descriptive person, to talking correctly, I, you, me, things like that. He's learnt to swim, he's learnt to ride a horse, he's learnt to ride a bike. He is an incredibly happy little boy who brings joy to our lives every single day, and he has a quality of life which he never had before, and so does his sister, and so do we, which is why I'm so passionate about making everyone get access that needs it, because, you know, I speak to families every day who are really suffering with mental health problems. Their children are suffering with mental health problems, and it is really wrong. If we can do something to help their children to be well, then they, in turn, their siblings can be better, their relationships can be better. You know, the divorce is really high in children with epilepsy or disability, and it's really important that we support people and families like that, not allow them to suffer. So anyway, thank you for listening to what I have to say, and yeah, please please like Alfie's Hope page. It would be really good if you can you know, come on our Facebook page and show us some support and follow the campaign. And if you want to contact me, you can contact me through Alfie's Hope Facebook page as well. Thank you.